I started out this morning referencing the word depth, going deep. And it's surprising how few people actually try to do that in their lives. That many people live a very superficial existence full of mind-numbing distractions, numbing being an important part of that, emotional closeness, so as not to feel disturbance, but also, unfortunately, not to feel the depth of connectedness and love. The idea of a superficial life sort of works in certain phases of life when everybody around you is reflecting their superficiality and you're all just buzzing together in that mode. And then there is what I call the initiatory moment for a few people, where something comes and blows apart the superficial. Suddenly you are forced into a depth of feeling, an awareness, a insight. The world touches you differently. And when all of that starts to happen, you have a kind of choice, either to embrace the new depth that is arising inside you, or obliterate it as quickly as you can. And life, being a very superficial experience mostly, provides you with lots of opportunities to come back to the surface, float above, or above would be okay, I guess, float with the wave action and interact with it on a minute-to-minute basis. And it's always changing, of course. The weather's changing, the temperature's changing, the movement of the world is always changing. And if you're riding the waves and you get really skilled at it, okay, that can become a kind of a pleasurable gift. And if you see people who specialize in it, surfers literally, they learn to read the movement. They learn to flow with the movement. And in fact, they do it by getting quieter and slower in their brain and feeling more deeply how this action is coming, how to anticipate certain things. And they go on the flow of life with a kind of mastery, if you will. And we celebrate that. They get awards and they have contests and all of that. But very few of us master the wave action of life. So there's a big problem right in the middle between wave action and life and true depth of being. And the problem, and I hate to use the word problem because it comes across in other ways, but the thing that stands between you and depth and the endless activity of the superficial world is your body. And your body is, at a certain point in life, vital, strong, capable, gets you where you want to go. The mind is interacting with the physicality of it all. You know, you're enjoying the pleasures of life. The disappointments of life come, but you can kind of recover from those because you have your body is in a certain state of stasis, relative stasis. It's not really, because it's always aging. It's always getting, moving toward a kind of dissolution, which we talk about in this class a lot. But mid-ground, it's only kind of a distant thing. And as the body starts to go on its journey of letting go of its mid-ground interpretive interaction with the world around it, the world around it becomes deeply affected by the body and its dissolution or disintegration. And the only resting place when all of that happens, the only place you can go that gives you any kind of quietude or stability is deep. deep inside, because anyone who experiences what the ocean must be like or senses what the ocean must be like, wave action is superficial. It's on the surface. Occasionally it goes deeper, but the idea in our mind is that real depth is profoundly still. The ocean at its core, for most of the time, is very simple and still pointed and incorporates a kind of vastness that is not really interpreted by the endless disturbance on the surface. The disturbance happens, the flesh and body of waves, let's say, is constant. The sun, the moon, the stars, the earth, the crashing on the shore, it's all part of the whole. But there is this deep part in us, in the world, in the oceanic sense of being that is still pointed, quiet. For those of us who have had decades or years or whatever of meditative practice, there is a certain sense of protection in that. It gives you a kind of security blanket that when things get a little bit too dramatic on the surface, you can go deeper. And if you can't find your way deeper, you can ask for help to go deeper, which is the core of the teaching that we do. Please help me to go deeper, help me to surrender, help me to let go, help me to accept whatever the terminologies you use. But there is a place, a reservoir, a depth that is a holding pattern. And I like the word holding. And I also like the word held. Because when you are young and you are held by your parents, perhaps mother more than anybody, when you are held, there is a sense of, it's a secure moment. It is really beautiful to know, one, that you are being held, but that at the core of being held is a feeling of being cared for. This idea I've spoken about before of we got you. You're okay. Don't worry. It's a profound feeling that some people manage to find in life and hold on to. Sometimes we marry it. Sometimes our siblings offer it to us. Friends, people we know, people like Rudy, a teacher who said he was reparenting me, but he held me. And his class, which was not necessarily a physical hold, but it was a hold. It was like, you're okay, welcome back into this space of holding. And it was a deep space. It wasn't superficial. It wasn't prone to the wave action of everything around me. If anything, it was a release from wave action. You got to go to a place where you could go, But what was very interesting in that space is how little of your body, mind, emotion, personality, narrative story, or any of that stuff which is so part of the waves of the outer goes with you. Part of being held is the release of all of that. So you can really go into a place where for a period of time, at least in the worldly sense, you're being held and you're just letting go of all the drama, all the story you tell yourself, all the mind action that's interpreting everything that's going on. You just go, and if you go really deep in that, you feel a kind of groundedness that is not superficial, that is core level you, in a you that you can't name really, because it's not your story and it doesn't have your body in it. Your body is somehow suspended during that time, and you go into this place so you can be held. And it is always there to hold. The thing that takes you away from being held is, and Rudy would call it The mind is, as he said, and I talked about it last time, about the mind being the slayer of the soul. Mind is very impacted by the body. And at some point, mind action and body action are, in a way, one and the same thing, meaning the body starts to experience dissolution, and the mind relates to that. As the body gets older and you start to have the aches and pains, which my parents always talked about, the aches and pains, and I took that as a very small little, oh, well, like your finger hurts or your knee hurts. No, aches and pains, when the body really starts to hurt, are beyond ache and beyond what we think of as pain. It's really, in many ways, unendurable. It's pretty awful. And you feel, in a way, tormented by that. And the mind has a field day with your aches and pains. It starts to jump in there. And then you start to have these emotional, neurological, physiological alterations in the body that produce things like fear, sadness, grief, depression, despair, all of these things, which are, in a way, aches and pains, or a relationship, in a way, to aches and pains. But they are arising in the body because of the body, and you are oftentimes caught by these things. Even if you feel, that I can work with this, I can do stuff with this. Well, maybe. When you have a broken arm, you can try to meditate it away, but probably you're best off getting help, going out for help. If you have emotional discordance and you have depression and sadness and all of that stuff, which comes from the disintegration of the body and the pain of existential reality, all of these things that start to come at everybody, meditators or not meditators, you may need help. You can look for help in the world, which is fine, and the world can help to a degree. It can fix a broken arm. The world can give you a hug. People in the world can give you hugs. But at some point, that will not be enough, and you will need to find the thing that is the ultimate hug of being held. And being held, the only way you can be held is to free yourself of the body and go deep into that space, which really is your security blanket, if you will. It's your home. It's the space from which you arise. It's the depth of your being, and it holds you. You can call it consciousness. You can call it a God. You can call it love. You can call it any name you want. But there is this place, but you need to make an effort to go there until they take the body away. When the body goes away, well, I can only guess at what I'm talking about, that you will still find your way back to that space, because it's so core, it's so central, it's so what you are in the end, what we all are collectively together. But as long as you have a body, you are separated out into a world of manifested form, and you will have pleasure and joy and misery and sadness. And it's all there, doing its dance. If you have practiced a meditative life, you will have a bit of a doorway to this inner space. And I can only tell you, to get personal, how grateful I am that I met Rudy, and that he provided me with the keys that I needed to go inside and go deep. And that he told me to do this every day for the rest of your life. I said, okay. And although I no longer sit every day, and I've talked about that before, there is no day when I am not entering my deepest space. But I will tell you, there are days now where the body is in betrayal mode, if we want to call it that. It's not really that, because the body does what it does. And we all have the disintegration experience. I have this new thing with my finger that it clicks down and it will not open. And it's like, and it goes on all during the night. So every time it clicks open, I go like that. I cannot hold a space anymore at night when I'm sleeping. That will keep me for the whole night, maybe half an hour. So there's an endless kind of switching and turning. I've also started waking up with a physiological experience of depression, sadness. And I go, I don't get it, because I don't understand that there's no real reason for it other than what I name. My mind gives it a name. It's called loneliness, sadness. No reason other than that I'd like to be hugging my grandchildren 24/7 and can't. You know, there's a kind of a feeling of profound existential insecurity. And I tell you that, one, so that you can all sign off and say, well, forget him. Why would I want to meditate with this guy? And I, none of you show up. I'm spending Sundays differently. But I will tell you, the journey is really profound and interesting. And meditation does not buy you out of it. What it does is it gives you an access point, a grounding point that allows you to remember, do the work, take a breath, do whatever it takes. You don't have to sit and wonder, why am I depressed, or what is this thing that's going on? And it's very physiological. It's not like it's conditional. It's not based on outer things, really. It really is its own, like broken arm. There's something wrong inside. And it's not really wrong. It's just your body is doing its thing. It's going to do its thing. And ultimately, it will leave you, or you will leave it, however you want to look at it. But that process is the human journey. Nobody escapes it. Nobody. You can either look at it as it's happening, or you can look away and watch what happens. Blanche and I this last week went to Manassas, Virginia, to move her sister, who's 86 and beginning to be quite demented, from her home, which is basically a storage room of everything. I mean, boxes upon boxes upon boxes of her whole life stacked up in ways that are very hard to look at. And she's being moved into a facility where she cannot have her boxes, where there's room for only some of her things. And she lives with a sense of everything is around her, and that's now being taken away. We helped her get her boxes in order. We helped her understand that she's going to give some of them to Goodwill, that some of them could go into storage, which might mean that she'll never see them again, and some will go with her to where she's moving. She vaguely understands this in the daytime. At nighttime, she has something I've just learned about called sundowner syndrome, which is, as nighttime comes, confusion beyond understanding starts to happen, and disturbance. And so she actually moved yesterday. We talked to her son, and we visited the place she's going, and it's very beautiful and very quieting and very simple. She was in total anxiety mode, totally terrified of newness, of where she was going. She has never in her life had a moment of practice, stillness. There's nothing to say to her that will help her calm down, except that if you can find the things she thinks she's missing. She can't find her purse. It's actually on her, hanging on her arm, but she can't find it. She can't find her keys. She can't find her comb, and it becomes hysteria. One of her caretakers put too many Q-tips in a container, and she wanted her fired immediately, calling her names that I will not talk about online, just because she put too many Q-tips here. I'm not trying to paint a picture other than her journey was, for me, the future. I look at Blanche and I look at myself and I go, you don't think that's possible. You don't think you could go there. You had this spiritual life. You've had this practice. You have all this stuff. And you think you're immune from that. You can do the work. And yet I go outside to get the newspaper in the morning, and I stand in my driveway and I go, where the hell am I? Not that I don't know. I can give it a name. I can say New York State. I can say upstate, Hudson Valley. I can go, this is not California, this is not Detroit, this is not San Rafael or Seattle. I mean, I can give it all these ramifications of, ideas and thoughts and places, but really, I go, where is this? Where is any of this without the narrative, without the story? It's a really interesting dynamic. It's a little bit scary, but it's also strangely expansive, because what I know when I go to that space is I'm here. I have no idea, really, literally, where here is. I know I can call it on the earth. I can call it in the United States of America. I can call it a cool, temperate climate. It has trees that are now, barren and snow on the ground. I get all that. But what's really fascinating about this journey is none of us really know, other than the fact that we've imprinted ourselves with, this is where I am and who I am and what I am. It's very satisfying until piece by piece, it gets taken away. And my sister-in-law shows me where 7 or 8 years from now goes to. Now, we don't all go there. We all go differently. Every one of us is on a totally different ride. We all have our own narrative experience, and we all have our meditative experience, which grounds us to some degree. And my meditation and my spiritual life are, in a way, a kind of, and I hate to use the word because it's not the right one, but salvation. They allow me to go into a place where I go, thank you. And that's really what I do. And when I go outside to pick up my newspaper, and I have to bend down and pick it up, and I'm actually able to stand back up again, which is not always a given, I say, thank you. It's a tiny little act. When I get up and down the stairs, and look, I know I'm not 100 years old here, but when I go down the stairs, there's not a guarantee that the knee is actually going to be there to support that step. And anything could happen. When I have a moment of completed something, I say thank you. I express gratitude. So I will talk for one brief second about gratitude as the mechanism that allows you to observe all of the loss and to see what remains. And what remains, in my experience right now, after the depression goes away, and that does hit, I just sit and stare at it. I found that walking hard, carrying weights, which I do, the effort really starts to break down the drama and the tension, and I get back to this simple norm. And then I just get quiet, and I find myself finding myself being grateful. I go, thank you, over and over and over and over. So if I have a teaching at this point in time, and I don't know that I do, other than what you hear me blabbering about week by week, thank you. Thank you. That's a great teaching. Thank you. And allow yourself to feel the quietude of being held, and thank you will arise by itself. You do not have to say thank you. It will be a feeling, an expression of profound gratitude that absolutely is organic. It comes right out of you. It is the core of you. And if you start to feel this gratitude and thank you, you will begin to express it into the world, and you will express it to the people around you. You will express gratitude, or as the Dalai Lama and Buddha and others would have said, you will find that you're giving kindness. Gratitude turns into an act of kindness. It's thank you. So as simplistic as this may be, let me resolve it all with saying, you got a body, enjoy it, but it ain't permanent. It's going to fall apart in ways that are physiological, emotional, psychological. It's all part of a loss. And there's no predictability to whether it's going to happen this way for you or that way for you. Who knows? But it is happening. It will happen. There's no way around it. But there is one thing you can do. You can pay attention, try to go as deep as you can, and just go thank you moment to moment, that when you pick up the newspaper, it comes up with you standing. It's a great achievement, and you will go. It's going to be a good day. You don't know the next step, but it feels like it will be a good day. And so those of you who are moving in my direction of age, as you can tell, my suspenders now are replacing my my belt, which didn't work anyway. So I look in the mirror and I see this guy, you know, and I'm turning 80 soon, and I don't know why that marker has hit such a big note for me, but it is. It's a real note, and I'm preaching and talking and teaching from a place that you're all headed to. So if it speaks to you now, great. If it doesn't speak to you now, hopefully Arkady will keep the recordings online somewhere, and in 20 years you can listen to it and go, oh, that's what he meant. But it will have its value. You are not being cast adrift. You are all being held. Trust me, you are held. And you are held in the most beautiful way, the way your mother held you, the way your dad held you, the way your aunts and uncles held you. You are being held, but by a force inside you that is so beautiful. But if you don't get deep enough, you won't feel it. If you don't get deep enough, you're going to be tossed on the waves of the ocean. If you go deep enough, you will go, thank you. And the gratitude will just go beyond your understanding and fill the space and the time that you inhabit. So that's the journey for now. I'm going to leave it at that, but I am going to say a couple of other things. In 2 weeks, I think, the 19th of February is 3 days before the 50th anniversary of Rudy's samadhi, of his passing. And I cannot not acknowledge that. And so what's going to happen on that day, I don't know how it will work, is anyone who wants to tune in that morning at 8 o'clock your time, 11 o'clock our time, and anybody who wants to have a moment to talk about their time with Rudy, their time with the impact of having studied with Rudy teachers, whatever you like. If you feel like saying anything, I will hand the camera over if Arkady can show me how to do that. I think it's not too hard. And everybody can have a moment to just come and share their stories, whatever they may be. There's already a video, yes, of people talking about Rudy's stories, and we'll get that online, so we'll make it clear for you with Bob Sink's help where that is if you want to hear other people's stories. But 50 years is a big marker. It's a really extraordinary thing. And I'm going to invite anyone who's in the New York area. I mean, I can invite you from California, but if you're around, come here, and we'll get together and we'll hold hands, and if you're not worried about COVID, we'll hold hands and we'll all just have a big cake and celebrate Rudy. And that's the 19th of February. It's in a few weeks. Of minor input, but because I'm having an 80th birthday and I don't really want a big party or celebration at all, but the Sunday after that, which happens also to be the Oscars and also the beginning of daylight savings time, so it's a big day on that Sunday. Anyone who wants to come here with a birthday cake, I will do that as well, just to give myself a little acknowledgement, I guess. But I know for most of you that's a major effort, so I'm not pushing that button. And for you in California, it's beyond that. So, but I'm looking forward to the passage of moving past 80. I look at George here, who's 81, and you know he's doing great, and old age is already a past tense. You know, so it's like we're all moving in that direction. But that's all I need to say. I love you guys. Thank you for showing up. It means a lot to me that you're around, and I can tell that this energy that both speaks through me and that rises up and gets shared with you is way, way beyond the blue sky. So if you feel hungry and you want it, it knows it is responsive to people who open. It wants to be with you. That's all. It's just like your mother would love to hug you day and night. It's like I want to hug my grandchildren and my boys and their partners day and night. You can't do that exactly, but there is something that does. So if you need a hug, it's there for you and will always be there. I guess I can ask for questions, but this is obviously going on a long time. Does anybody have a question? Wendy? I can't hear you.
Thanks, Bruce. I just have a quick question. Just the relationship between being present and what you were talking about is being present the essence of being able to connect to that depth, or do you see it as meaning something a little bit different?
I think being present gives you the handle of the door. So you can turn it and go in. You know, just being present, if you're in a lot of wave action and it's really uncomfortable, if the world is getting to you or your body is getting to you or all those things, being present is often horrible. You know, I watch the news, present tense, and I go, nope, I don't want to go there, but my wife likes to watch it. So I turn the knob inside and I go to a deeper place where I see this is human life. It has never been other. I get a perspective on it that comes from depth rather than from the superficial, oh God, look what's happening to the world. I go, it has never been other. And that's very important because there's a teaching in that. Not that I totally grasp the teaching, but I do know we live in a universe of yin and yang, have always been there. And that in order to touch the beauty of life, you have to be aware of the ugliness of life. That's part of the equation. And it's been like that from the beginning. Seeing the world through that eye is better than seeing it through, oh my God, all that other stuff. So turn the handle, go inside, go deep.
Thank you, Bruce. That was gorgeous. Thank you.
George.
I just watched this documentary on Netflix with the Dalai Lama and Desmond Tutu. And I highly recommend it to anybody. It's called, I think it's called Finding Joy.
I don't know if you could hear this. George is saying that he watched a documentary with the Dalai Lama and Desmond Tutu called Finding Joy on Netflix, and he highly recommends it. And I have yet to see it, but I will take advantage.
It has a lot to do with what you're just talking about.
Yeah, well, you know, none of us are saying new things, really.
Just seeing these two real
Yeah,
teachers,
yeah.
and watching them just find joy in each other.
That's great. I will recommend that through George. Anybody else? Yeah, Todd.
Wanted to share one thing. First, I wanted to express my gratitude for you being the conduit of this, loving energy. And you spoke about depth, and I guess during class, how it presented itself to me was making room for everything. That when I'm in that distress, that there's something reality that I'm denying, and through this class, I'm able to expand in a way where there is more room, literally within me, to accept that which I used to deny. And so I'm just grateful for that. And yeah, the practice today really showed me about what it's like to make room for everything and how that does affect my nervous system just by acknowledging that.
Love that. Thank you. Thank you. Yeah, no, I've watched you over the years, and I know you are a living example of this work, and I appreciate it. And I, same for me. When I sit down to teach, the vastness of it is so overwhelming, that my story is nothing. It's nothing. It's meaningless. It's just get out of the way, and this energy arises, and I'm not unique. I mean, I'm not different than any other person on the planet, other than the fact that I make an effort here, and so that's all I teach is make the effort, and you'll get the same thing that you're talking about. You can make room for everything, and that is really important, because when everything comes at you, you better make room for it. Otherwise, it's kind of overwhelming and not easy to get through. But I do know you're doing that, and I see everybody here making their own efforts, and I know we're all part of a group that's trying, and to the best of our ability, we should share this with anybody who is trying as well.
Thank you, Bruce. Love you.
Well, till next time, guys. Take care.